Okay, hi again. So I'm going to continue on our study of the weather, and we're going to look at a couple of things in this video clip. We're going to look at the water cycle, so how rain falls and how it's soaked up again and falls again. We're going to look at the different types of clouds, and we're going to look at the 3 different types of rainfall, just like we did in class. So the water cycle explains how water is renewable. You know, we see water in our rivers and in our lakes. We see the sun shining. The sun is actually soaking up the water. It's turning it from a liquid into a gas. Then it's rising up into the air in a gas form. But as it rises up further, that gas turns back into a liquid, which forms a cloud, falls as rain back into the river, and the whole cycle starts again. So the water cycle explains how water is a renewable resource. Okay? So there's 4 steps to the water cycle. You have evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and runoff. Evaporation is basically the process of how the sun turns the water from a liquid into a gas and causes it to rise up in the air, and we can't see it, but it's present in the air. Condensation is just the process whereby the gas, the water vapor gas, turns from a gas back into a liquid and forms a cloud. Precipitation is just rain, hail, sleet or snow, and runoff is where the water runs back down into the sea, into lakes, rivers, or stored in rocks underground. Okay, so let's just go through it in a little bit more detail. So if you're asked to write and explain the water cycle, start off with evaporation. So the sun's heat evaporates up the seawater and turns it into a gas called water vapor. So evaporation is the process by which the heat of the sun is soaking up that seawater and turning it from a liquid into a gas called water vapor. And it's amazing because we can't see that water vapor in front of us when we're outside, but it's there. It's present in the air. So the amount of water vapor in the air, remember, is just called humidity. Okay, and if the air is 100% saturated with humidity, the air can't hold that anymore, so it turns back into a liquid, which forms a cloud. So the sun's heat evaporates up, soaks up the seawater, and turns it into a gas called water vapor. That light water vapor, along with the air, as it's rising up with the air, it rises and the air gets cooler. The warm air gets cooler and it can't hold the water vapor, so the water vapor condenses, which means it turns back into a liquid, back into water droplets, which make up a cloud. So the light water vapor rises, cools, and condenses, turns back into water droplets, which form a cloud. As the cloud gathers more and more water droplets over time, it becomes too heavy and it bursts and falls in the form of precipitation. That could be rain, hail, sleet, or snow. The most common form is obviously rain. As the rain falls onto the land, some of the rain goes down through the soil. Some of it is stored in rocks underground if the rock is permeable and porous and has gaps and cracks in it. And a lot of it just runs back off into the sea, into the rivers and the lakes. So that's the water cycle. Evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and runoff. Be able to draw it and be able to explain the 4 steps of it as well. Okay? Right, then we moved on to the 3 different types of cloud. So clouds are basically just water droplets, or if it's very cool, ice crystals. If there's too many water droplets in a cloud, it can't hold them all, so it'll turn a dark colour and it'll fall as precipitation. So clouds are grouped into different groups depending on the colour of them, the shape of them, and the height of them. So the first type of cloud, we have a cirrus cloud. A cirrus cloud is a very, very light kind of a cloud. They're very high up in the sky and they look like delicate brushstrokes in the sky. Okay, so they're associated with fine weather. So they're very light. They're like I said, they're like delicate brushstrokes in the sky and they're very high up. They're not going to bring rain. They're associated with fine weather. Okay. The second type of cloud is a cumulus cloud. Cumulus clouds are very fluffy clouds. There's 2 different varieties. Well, they're both found anyway in medium height in the sky. So cumulus clouds are very fluffy and they are found at medium height in the sky. We see these a lot in Ireland. If they're very white, fluffy clouds, they're still holding onto the water vapour. They're fine. They're associated with fine weather. If they turn dark and they can't hold all that water droplets, they turn grey and dark, they're going to bring rain. Okay, so that's cumulus clouds. And stratus clouds are the bad type of clouds. They're very low in the sky, they're very dark, and they're fit to burst with precipitation. So they bring heavy rainfall and weather, or rainfall and precipitation. They can also kind of cause fog as well. So again, you've got three types of clouds. You've got cirrus, cumulus, and stratus. The ones you're looking at now is the stratus. They're dark, they're heavy, they're low, they're bursting with rain. These ones are the cirrus. They're like delicate brushstrokes in the sky. They're found high up in the sky, and they're very little water droplets. They bring fine weather. Cumulus can vary. They're fluffy. They're found at medium height. If they're white fluffy, they bring fine weather. Dark fluffy clouds, they bring precipitation. Okay? And on to the three different types of rainfall. Okay, the first type of rainfall we get a lot along the coast of Ireland, the west coast, is called relief rainfall. Relief rainfall is found along the coast. It's where the air blows in from the sea and meets a mountain range. And it's where the air is forced to rise up over the mountain. Okay? So, to explain it, relief rain occurs when warm, moist air blows in from the sea. So think of that warm, moist air blowing in, that warm air blowing in over the Atlantic Ocean. That warm air, as it blows over the Atlantic Ocean, is picking up moisture, and then it reaches the west coast of Ireland. And the warm air is full of moisture, and all along the west coast of Ireland we know is full of mountain ranges, from Kerry to Cork, from Cork to Kerry to Clare to Mayo to Sligo to Donegal. Okay, so that warm air is full of moisture and is forced to rise over these mountain ranges. As the warm air rises over the mountain ranges along the west coast, it gets cool. As the air gets cool, it can't hold water vapor. Okay, as the cool air can't hold all that moisture and all that water vapor, it forms a cloud. The cloud eventually becomes too full. It falls as precipitation on the windward side of the mountain. So the windward side of the mountain is the side of the mountain facing the wind as it's blowing in from the sea. As the air descends back down the leeward side of the mountain, so that's the other side of the mountain, so the rain shadow, the air is now descending, it's dry. Okay, it has dropped all of the rain on the windward side of the mountain, so it's now dry. Okay, so that's relief rainfall. Okay, then we move on, and relief rainfall is very common on the west coast of Ireland. Think Kerry, Donegal, Galway, Mayo, Kerry, etc. Okay, convectional rainfall then you get in a summer's day. Convectional rainfall occurs when the sun heats up the land and the air around it. So the sun heats up the earth's surface and the air around it. It warms the air and the air gets light and it rises. Okay, but when the air is warm, it can hold the water vapor. But when the air starts to rise quickly, it can't hold the water vapor anymore. So as it cools and can't hold the water vapor, it condenses into droplets of rain, which form a cloud, which falls as rain. So it's like a thunder shower during the summertime, that sudden burst of a rain shower. You might get it in Ireland in the summer during a fine day, but typically you'll get it in places along the equator. So that's convectional rainfall. And the final type of rainfall is cyclonic rain. We get that a lot in Ireland. Cyclonic rain forms when a warm air mass meets a cold air mass. So you get a warm or a cold front. Okay? So cyclonic rain forms where warm and cold air meet. The warm air moves in over an area of cold air. It forces itself to rise over the cold air. As the warm air rises, it gets cooler. It can't hold the water vapor anymore. So it forms a cloud which falls as precipitation all along the front. So that's cyclonic rain. So that's heavy rain falling along the front. So that's cyclonic rainfall. Okay, so the west of Ireland receives over 2,000 millimetres of rainfall annually, as opposed to the Midlands and the east, which receives only 800 millimetres. So that's down to our relief rainfall. Okay, so I hope that helps.